I'm looking at you right now, and I can see it, you don't feel happy. You're waiting for something. You think happiness is going to find you like a package on your doorstep. It won't. You build it, or you stay miserable. Stop everything you are doing. Stand up. Go to the mirror. Look into your own eyes and be honest. Do you see happiness there? Not the fake smile you put on for others. Not the performance. I mean real joy. Is that a person who wakes up excited? Is that someone who feels genuinely connected to others? Or is it someone who keeps waiting for life to get better while doing nothing to make it better? You have lived too long waiting for happiness to arrive. The version that scrolls through social media looking for something to fill the void. The version that thinks more money, more followers, more achievements will finally do it. The version that Dale Carnegie warned about a century ago, the person who seeks happiness everywhere except where it actually lives. But I'm going to tell you something that will change everything. Happiness isn't something that happens to you. It's something you create, deliberately, daily, through specific actions that Carnegie discovered and taught. And if you follow the method I'm about to give you, if you stand in front of that mirror every morning for 30 days and speak the exact words I'll teach you, if you act on Carnegie's principles regardless of how you feel, then in 30 days you will not recognize the person staring back at you. Because that person, the person you're going to become, doesn't wait for happiness. They manufacture it. Chapter 1, The Myth of Sunday Happiness. You keep telling yourself you'll be happy when you get the promotion. When you find the right relationship. When you lose the weight. When you make more money. When people finally recognize your worth. That's the biggest lie you've ever told yourself. Dale Carnegie spent his entire career studying genuinely happy people, and he discovered something that will shatter your excuses. Happy people aren't happy because their circumstances are perfect. They're happy because they've learned to create joy regardless of circumstances. I used to believe the someday lie too. I thought happiness was waiting at the end of some achievement. But Carnegie taught me that happiness is a skill, not a reward. It's something you practice, not something you earn. Look in the mirror right now and say this: I don't wait for happiness. I build it today. The man who waits for perfect conditions to be happy will wait forever. The woman who postpones joy until everything aligns will die postponing. Carnegie knew this. That's why he taught people to find reasons to be happy right now, in this moment, with what they have. Here's what I'm going to tell you throughout this entire method. Happiness doesn't come from getting what you want. It comes from wanting what you already have and appreciating the people already in your life. But you're not ready for the full method yet. First, you need to understand why you've been failing. Chapter 2, The Law of Smiling First. Carnegie discovered something revolutionary about human psychology. Actions seem to follow feelings, but really actions and feelings go together. You've been doing it backwards. You've been waiting to feel happy before you smile. You've been waiting to feel confident before you act confident. You've been waiting to feel grateful before you express gratitude. That's why you're stuck. Happy people smile before they feel like smiling. They act with enthusiasm before they feel enthusiastic. They show interest in others before they feel interested. And then, here's the magic: the feeling follows the action. I want you to try something right now. Stand in front of your mirror and force a smile. I don't care if it feels fake. I don't care if you don't feel like it. Smile anyway. Hold it for 30 seconds. Notice what happens. Your posture straightens. Your breathing changes. Something shifts inside you, doesn't it? That's the law of smiling first in action. Carnegie taught this because he understood that you can literally smile your way into happiness. Not by pretending everything is perfect, but by training your body to create the emotional state you want. Tomorrow morning, before you do anything else, stand in that mirror and smile. Say this affirmation: I smile before I feel like it, and my mood follows. Do it especially if you don't feel like it. That's when it matters most. That's when you're taking control instead of being controlled. The weak version of you waits for reasons to smile. The strong version creates them. Chapter 3. The happiness switch: interest in others. Here's Carnegie's most powerful secret, and I'm going to give it to you straight. Stop obsessing over how you feel. Start focusing on others. You want to know why you're not happy? Because you spend all day thinking about yourself, your problems, your feelings, your needs, your disappointments. You've made yourself the center of your universe, and that universe is too small to contain real joy. Carnegie wrote, "You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you." But here's what he didn't explicitly say: you can become happier in 2 days by focusing on others than in 2 years by focusing on yourself. I'll tell you about Roosevelt in a moment, the story that proves this principle, but first I need you to understand something. Every genuinely happy person I've ever met has one thing in common: they're more interested in others than they are in themselves. Tomorrow, I want you to try an experiment. Instead of starting your day thinking about your problems, your schedule, your stress, I want you to start by thinking about one person in your life. Really thinking about them. What are they struggling with? What would make their day better? How can you serve them? Then do something about it. Send a text. Make a call. Show up for them. Watch what happens to your own mood when you make someone else's day better. Roosevelt understood this. He memorized the names of hundreds of ranch hands, White House staff, and visitors. Not because he had to, because he chose to. He made every person feel like the most important person in the room. And they responded to him with loyalty, with enthusiasm, with energy that made him one of the most magnetic leaders in history. But more importantly, he was genuinely happy. Because when you make others feel important, you become important. When you make others feel valued, you feel valuable. When you light up someone else's world, your own world gets brighter. This is the happiness switch. Flip your focus from inward to outward, and everything changes. Chapter 4. Stop worrying or stay miserable. Carnegie wrote an entire book about this: how to stop worrying and start living. But I'm going to give you the core truth in terms you can use right now. Worry is the assassin of happiness. You cannot be genuinely joyful while you're mentally rehearsing disasters. You cannot feel grateful while you're borrowing trouble from tomorrow. You cannot be present with the people you love while your mind is spinning stories about everything that might go wrong. Carnegie's solution was simple but revolutionary: live in day-tight compartments. Here's what that means. Right now, close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, what can I control today? Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. Whatever that is, focus there. Everything else is borrowed worry, and borrowed worry costs compound interest in stolen happiness. I used to be a professional worrier. I could find 17 reasons to be anxious before breakfast. But Carnegie taught me that worry is a choice, not a feeling. It's a mental habit, not a natural response. Tomorrow morning, stand in your mirror and say this: I live in day-tight compartments, I don't borrow worry from tomorrow. Then prove it. Every time your mind starts running scenarios about future problems, interrupt it. Say out loud, that's tomorrow's business. Today, I focus on today. This isn't naive optimism. This is practical happiness. Because the truth is, 90% of what you worry about never happens, and the 10% that does happen usually isn't as bad as you imagined. But even if it is, worrying about it today doesn't make you more prepared. It just makes you more miserable. Carnegie knew that happy people aren't people without problems. They're people who refuse to let tomorrow's maybes steal today's joy. I'll tell you the Lincoln lesson about this later, the story that will destroy your excuses about worry forever, but not yet. First, you need to practice living in today. Chapter 5, The Gratitude Multiplier. Happy people notice things. They see what's working. They catch people doing things right. They spot beauty, kindness, progress, effort. And then, this is crucial, they say it out loud. Unhappy people do the opposite. They notice what's wrong. They catch people making mistakes. They spot problems, flaws, dangers, disappointments. And they definitely say that out loud. Carnegie discovered something powerful. Appreciation multiplies whatever you appreciate. Criticism multiplies whatever you criticize. If you want more happiness in your life, you have to appreciate the happiness that's already there. Let me tell you about a transformation I witnessed. A manager complained to Carnegie that his employees were lazy, unmotivated, careless. Carnegie asked him to try something for 1 week, catch someone doing something right and praise them for it. Every single day. The manager was skeptical, but he tried it. By the end of the week, the same lazy employees were staying late, suggesting improvements, taking pride in their work. Nothing had changed except what he chose to notice and mention. That's the gratitude multiplier in action. Tomorrow morning, look in the mirror and say, "I see the good in others," and I say it out loud. Then prove it. Find one person today and tell them something you appreciate about them. Be specific. Don't just say "good job." Say, "I noticed how patient you were with that difficult customer, and it made me proud to work with you." Watch their face light up. Feel how that changes your own energy. But here's the secret, start with yourself. Look in that mirror and find one thing, just one thing, you can genuinely appreciate about the person looking back at you. Maybe it's that you're trying. Maybe it's that you showed up today. Maybe it's that you're willing to change. Say it out loud. I appreciate that I'm working to become better. Gratitude isn't just about being thankful. It's about training your mind to see abundance instead of scarcity, progress instead of problems, possibilities instead of limitations. Happy people aren't grateful because their lives are perfect. Their lives feel perfect because they've learned to be grateful. Chapter 6, The Public Speaking Secret to Happiness. Carnegie made his fortune teaching public speaking, but he discovered something unexpected. People who learned to speak with confidence became happier in every area of their lives. Here's why. When you're afraid to speak, you're afraid to be seen. When you're afraid to be seen, you hide. When you hide, you disconnect. When you disconnect, you become lonely. And lonely people are never truly happy. But when you learn to share your thoughts, your ideas, your truth, when you stop hiding and start contributing, something magical happens. You become lighter. You become more alive. You become genuinely happy. I'm not talking about becoming a professional speaker. I'm talking about finding your voice in your own life. Speaking up in meetings. Sharing your ideas with friends. Expressing your appreciation out loud. Telling people how you feel instead of keeping it locked inside. Carnegie taught that happiness rises when you speak with purpose. When you stop being a passive observer and start being an active participant in your own life. Stand in your mirror tomorrow and say, "I share my truth, and my truth sets me free." Then practice it. In one conversation today, say something real. Share an idea. Express a feeling. Offer encouragement. Stop being invisible. The person who speaks with purpose becomes magnetic. People want to be around them. They want to hear what they have to say. They want to include them, value them, follow them. But even more important than how others respond is how you feel about yourself. When you stop hiding, you stop feeling like you have something to be ashamed of. When you contribute value, you feel valuable. When you speak with conviction, you develop conviction. This is why Carnegie's students didn't just become better speakers, they became happier people. Because speaking up is standing up. And when you stand up for your ideas, your values, your truth, you stand taller in every area of your life. Chapter 7, Kill Envy Before It Kills You. You want to know what's murdering your happiness? Comparison. You're measuring your life against other people's highlight reels. You're judging your struggles against their successes. You're comparing your beginning to their middle. Carnegie understood that envy is happiness poison. It doesn't just make you feel bad, it makes feeling good impossible. Here's the brutal truth. Every minute you spend wishing you had someone else's life is a minute you're not building your own. Every hour you waste being jealous is an hour you could have spent being grateful. Every day you choose envy is a day you choose misery. But Carnegie taught something revolutionary. You can transform envy into inspiration. Instead of thinking, I wish I had what they have, think if they can do it, so can I. Instead of why them and not me, think what can I learn from their success? I'll tell you exactly how to do this. Tomorrow, when you catch yourself comparing, interrupt the pattern. Say out loud, their success doesn't diminish mine. Their joy doesn't reduce mine. Their blessing doesn't block mine. Then ask yourself, what specifically am I admiring about their situation? Their confidence? Their relationships? Their achievements? Their lifestyle? Now ask, what can I do today to develop that in my own life? Turn envy into a teacher. Use comparison as motivation. Transform jealousy into a blueprint. Carnegie studied truly happy people and discovered they all had one thing in common. They celebrated others' success instead of resenting it. They cheered for people instead of competing with them. They collaborated instead of compared. Why? Because they understood that there's enough happiness to go around. Someone else's joy doesn't use up the joy available to you. Someone else's success doesn't prevent your success. Someone else's blessing doesn't cancel your blessing. Stand in your mirror and say, I celebrate others' success, and it multiplies my own. Then prove it. Today, congratulate someone on their wins. Genuinely celebrate their achievements. Share their good news. Promote their success. Watch what happens to your own energy when you become a source of encouragement instead of a center of envy. Happy people aren't threatened by others' happiness. They're inspired by it. Chapter 8, The Energy of Kindness. Carnegie believed that kindness isn't soft, it's strategic happiness. If you want to be happy, he taught, make someone else happy first. This isn't about being nice to get something back. This is about understanding a fundamental law of human energy. When you give joy, you generate joy. When you create positive experiences for others, you create positive experiences for yourself. I want you to try something today. Find one person who's having a difficult time. Maybe they're stressed at work. Maybe they're going through a breakup. Maybe they're just having a bad day. And do something kind for them. Not because they deserve it. Not because they'll appreciate it. Because kindness creates happiness in the giver. Buy their coffee. Send an encouraging text. Listen without trying to fix. Hold the door. Give a compliment. Share an opportunity. Offer help. Watch what happens to your mood when you become the bright spot in someone else's day. Carnegie discovered that genuinely happy people are almost always genuinely kind people. Not because happiness makes you kind, but because kindness makes you happy. Here's why. When you act with kindness, you remember who you want to be. When you help others, you feel helpful. When you show compassion, you connect with your best self. When you serve, you matter. Tomorrow morning, look in your mirror and say, I create happiness by giving happiness. Then prove it. Commit to one act of kindness every single day. Not random acts of kindness, intentional acts of kindness. Look for opportunities to make someone's day better. Keep a list. Write down every kind thing you do. Not to brag, but to train your mind to look for ways to serve. To notice needs you can meet. To see chances to contribute. After 1 week, read the list. Notice how you feel about yourself. Notice how others are responding to you. Notice how your overall mood has shifted. Kindness is not weakness. It's a superpower. It's happiness in action. It's proof that you're not just taking up space in the world, you're making it better. Chapter 9, Small Wins, Big Joy. Carnegie understood that happiness grows in tiny actions. Remembering someone's name. Holding a door. saying please and thank you, making eye contact, smiling at strangers, asking how someone's day is going, and actually listening to the answer. You've been waiting for big moments to feel happy. The promotion, the relationship, the achievement, the breakthrough. But happy people don't wait for big moments. They create small moments. Every single day. Here's what I want you to understand. Happiness compounds. One small positive action leads to another. One genuine smile creates another. One act of appreciation multiplies. One moment of connection builds trust for the next. But so does unhappiness. One complaint leads to another. One negative comment creates more negativity. One moment of rudeness builds walls that take months to tear down. You get to choose which energy you're feeding. Tomorrow, commit to 5 small wins before noon. Smile at the cashier. Thank the person who holds the elevator. Compliment someone genuinely. Ask a coworker how their project is going. Send a text to someone you haven't talked to in a while. These aren't grand gestures. These are deposits in the happiness bank. And the interest compounds daily. Carnegie taught that the people who seem to have magnetic personalities, who draw others to them, who create positive energy wherever they go, aren't doing anything extraordinary. They're doing ordinary things extraordinarily consistently. Stand in your mirror and say, small actions create big changes. I build happiness one choice at a time. Then prove it. Make a list of 10 small actions that make you feel good about yourself and others feel good about being around you. Simple things. Easy things. Things you can do every day without special skills or resources. Then do them. Not all at once. Not when you feel like it. Systematically. Intentionally. Consistently. After 1 month, you won't recognize your life. Not because anything dramatic happened, but because everything shifted. Your relationships. Your mood. Your energy. Your reputation. Your self-respect. Small wins create momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates bigger wins. Bigger wins create genuine happiness. Don't wait for the big moment. Build it out of small moments. Chapter 10, The Poison of Constant Criticism. Carnegie discovered something that most people never learn. Criticism makes others defensive and you bitter. Every time you point out what's wrong, every time you focus on what's not working, every time you highlight problems without offering solutions, you're training your brain to see more problems. You're programming yourself for negativity. You're choosing misery. But here's what's even worse. Criticism destroys the very relationships that could make you happy. When people feel judged by you, they avoid you. When they feel criticized, they defend themselves instead of connecting with you. When they feel like nothing they do is good enough, they stop trying. I want you to try something radical for the next week. Every time you feel criticism rising in your throat, replace it with encouragement. Instead of "you did that wrong," try "here's how you could make it even better." Instead of "that won't work," try "what if we tried this approach?" Instead of "you always," try "I appreciate that you." Watch what happens. People start relaxing around you. They start sharing more. They start asking for your opinion instead of avoiding it. They start including you instead of working around you. But more importantly, watch what happens inside you. When you stop looking for what's wrong, you start seeing what's right. When you stop criticizing, you start appreciating. When you stop tearing down, you start building up. And builders are always happier than critics. Carnegie taught that happy people aren't people who never see problems. They're people who see solutions. They don't ignore what's wrong, they focus on how to make it right. Tomorrow morning, stand in your mirror and say, "I replace criticism with encouragement and I feel lighter instantly." Then prove it. Catch 3 people doing something right today. Tell them what you noticed. Be specific. Be genuine. Be encouraging. Notice how their faces change when you appreciate them instead of critiquing them. Notice how your own energy shifts when you become a source of encouragement instead of a fountain of criticism. The person who constantly criticizes is telling the world they're unhappy. The person who consistently encourages is telling the world they're at peace. Which person do you want to be? Chapter 11, Listening Like Your Life Depends on It. Carnegie said, talk to someone about themselves and they'll listen for hours. But he discovered something even more powerful. When you truly listen to others, you become genuinely happier. Here's why. Real listening is the deepest form of respect you can give another human being. And when you give respect, you feel respected. When you make others feel heard, you feel valued. When you connect deeply with someone, you feel connected. But most people don't listen. They wait for their turn to talk. They think about what they're going to say next. They judge what they're hearing. They try to solve, fix, or correct. Real listening is different. Real listening is giving someone your complete attention. It's hearing not just their words, but their feelings. It's understanding not just their situation, but their experience. Tomorrow, I want you to try this. Have one conversation where you don't say anything about yourself. Ask questions. Show interest. Follow up. Go deeper. Make the other person feel like the most fascinating person in the world. Watch what happens. They light up. They share more. They trust you more. They want to spend more time with you. But watch what happens to you. You feel more connected. More valued. More important. Because you've just given someone a gift that almost no one gives anymore, your full attention. Carnegie understood that lonely people are always unhappy people. And the fastest way to stop being lonely is to make someone else feel less lonely. Stand in your mirror and say, I listen deeply, and I connect authentically. Then prove it. In 3 conversations today, ask one question that shows you're really paying attention. How did that make you feel? What was the hardest part about that? What are you most excited about? Then actually listen to the answer. Don't think about your response. Don't plan your reply. Just listen. People will start saying things to you they don't say to others. They'll trust you with their real thoughts, their actual feelings, their honest struggles. And when people trust you with their truth, you become trustworthy. When you become trustworthy, you become valuable. When you become valuable, you become genuinely happy. Because happiness isn't about being interesting. It's about being interested. Chapter 12, Why Money Won't Fix It, but Can Help. Here's the brutal truth about money and happiness. Money alone won't make you happy, but the happiness habits I'm teaching you will make you more likely to succeed financially. Carnegie discovered that popular people get promoted. Trusted people get opportunities. People who make others feel good get invited into deals, partnerships, collaborations. People who encourage others get encouraged back. Happiness isn't just about feeling good. It's about becoming the kind of person others want to work with, invest in, and support. But if you're chasing money to find happiness, you're doing it backwards. Happy people attract abundance because they're pleasant to be around. They create positive experiences. They solve problems instead of creating them. They build others up instead of tearing them down. I want you to understand something. Every principle I've taught you so far, smiling first, showing interest in others, appreciating instead of criticizing, listening deeply, these aren't just happiness habits. They're success habits. When you make people feel good about themselves, they want to help you succeed. When you encourage others, they encourage you back. When you show genuine interest in their challenges, they start including you in their solutions. Tomorrow, instead of networking to get something, try networking to give something. Instead of asking how someone can help you, ask how you can help them. Instead of promoting yourself, promote someone else. Watch what happens to your reputation. Watch what happens to your opportunities. Watch what happens to your income. Carnegie taught that the people who make the most money aren't necessarily the smartest or the most talented. They're the ones who make others feel successful, appreciated, and important. Stand in your mirror and say, I create value for others, and value returns to me. But remember, if you do this only to make money, it won't work. People can sense insincerity. They can feel manipulation. They can tell when you're using them. The happiness habits work because they come from genuine care for others. They work because they make you genuinely happy. And when you're genuinely happy, you become genuinely successful. Not the other way around. Chapter 13, How to Handle People Who Drain Your Joy. Carnegie had 3 rules for dealing with difficult people. Don't argue. Don't retaliate. Redirect and release. Here's what that means in practice. When someone criticizes you, don't defend yourself, ask questions. What specifically would you like to see me do differently? When someone attacks your ideas, don't attack back, find something you can agree with. You're absolutely right about that part. What if we also considered? When someone tries to drag you into their drama, don't take the bait. Redirect to solutions. That sounds really frustrating. What do you think would help? And when someone is determined to be miserable, don't let them make you miserable too. Release them with compassion. I can see you're going through a tough time. I hope things get better for you. This isn't about being weak. This is about protecting your peace. This is about refusing to let someone else's bad day become your bad day. Happy people have boundaries. They don't absorb everyone else's emotions. They don't feel responsible for fixing everyone else's problems. They care without carrying. Tomorrow, when someone tries to dump their negativity on you, try this, listen for 1 minute, then say, I hear that you're frustrated. What's one thing that would make this situation better? If they want to solve it, help them solve it. If they just want to complain, politely excuse yourself. Stand in your mirror and say, I protect my peace, and I create space for joy. You're not responsible for making everyone happy. But you are responsible for not letting everyone make you unhappy. Carnegie understood that you become like the people you spend time with. If you hang around complainers, you'll start complaining. If you surround yourself with critics, you'll become critical. If you choose to be around encouragers, you'll become encouraging. Choose your company carefully. Your happiness depends on it. Chapter 14, The Self-Talk Reset. Everything I've taught you about how to treat others applies to how you treat yourself. The voice in your head needs to be as kind, encouraging, and supportive as the voice you use with people you care about. Carnegie understood that self-criticism is just as poisonous as criticizing others. Maybe more poisonous, because you can't get away from yourself. Stand in your mirror right now and listen to what you're thinking about the person looking back at you. Are you encouraging that person? Are you appreciating their efforts? Are you focusing on their progress? Or are you criticizing their appearance, their mistakes, their slowness, their weaknesses? From now on, you're going to speak to yourself the way Carnegie taught you to speak to others. With appreciation. With encouragement. With focus on what's working. Here are the affirmations you're going to say every morning. I see the good in others, and I say it out loud. I smile before I feel like it, and my mood follows. I live in day-tight compartments, no worry leaks into my day. I create happiness by giving happiness. I listen deeply, and I connect authentically. I replace criticism with encouragement, and I feel lighter instantly. I celebrate others' success, and it multiplies my own. I share my truth, and my truth sets me free. I protect my peace, and I create space for joy. Small actions create big changes. I build happiness one choice at a time. Say them out loud. Say them with conviction. Say them until you believe them. But more importantly, say them to yourself throughout the day. When you make a mistake, don't say, I'm so stupid. Say, I'm learning. When you struggle with something, don't say, I can't do this. Say, I'm figuring this out. Treat yourself like someone you're trying to help, not someone you're trying to hurt. Chapter 15, The Lincoln Lesson on Resilience. Carnegie studied Abraham Lincoln more deeply than any other figure, and he discovered something profound. Lincoln faced more personal tragedy, professional failure, and public criticism than almost any man in history. Yet he chose to remain kind. Lincoln lost his mother when he was 9. His first love died young. His business failed. He lost election after election. His children died of illness. His wife struggled with mental health. The nation was tearing itself apart. Half the country hated him. And yet, and this is the key, he refused to become bitter. He refused to let pain make him cruel. He refused to let disappointment make him cynical. Instead, he used his pain to understand others' pain. He used his struggles to develop compassion. He used his failures to stay humble. He used his losses to appreciate what remained. Carnegie wrote that Lincoln's secret was this: he made a deliberate decision to remain kind regardless of circumstances. That's your choice too. Every day, in every situation, with every person, you get to decide, will I let this make me bitter or better? Will I use this pain to hurt others or help them? Will I let this disappointment close my heart or open it? Lincoln chose kindness not because life was easy, but because kindness made life bearable. He chose compassion not because people deserved it, but because he needed to give it to remain who he wanted to be. Stand in your mirror and say, I choose kindness regardless of circumstances, and kindness chooses me back. This is the Lincoln lesson: your happiness isn't determined by what happens to you. It's determined by how you choose to respond to what happens to you. You can't control your circumstances, but you can control your character. And your character determines your happiness more than your circumstances ever will. Chapter 16, Happiness is Action, Not Daydreaming. Carnegie taught that happiness comes from doing, not thinking about doing. From moving, not planning to move. From serving, not intending to serve. You can't think your way into happiness. You can't visualize your way into joy. You can't meditate your way into fulfillment. You have to act your way there. Every principle I've taught you requires action. Smiling first is action. Showing interest in others is action. Listening deeply is action. Expressing appreciation is action. Offering encouragement is action. Tomorrow morning, don't just stand in the mirror and speak affirmations. Act on them. Find someone to encourage. Look for someone to appreciate. Choose someone to serve. If you want happiness, go do something for someone. If you want to feel valuable, create value. If you want to feel connected, connect with someone. If you want to feel grateful, express gratitude. Waiting is the enemy of happiness. Planning is the enemy of progress. Intending is the enemy of achieving. Carnegie discovered that the people who talk about helping others never help anyone. The people who talk about being grateful never appreciate anything. The people who talk about changing never change. But the people who quietly serve others become genuinely happy. The people who consistently express appreciation become genuinely grateful. The people who daily take small actions become genuinely transformed. Stand in your mirror and say, I don't wait for happiness, I build it through action today. Then prove it. Before you go to bed tonight, do one thing that makes someone else's day better. Not because they deserve it. Not because they'll thank you. Because action creates happiness in the actor. Stop rehearsing happiness. Start practicing it. Chapter 17, Fame and Popularity as Byproducts. Carnegie never taught people to become famous. He taught them to become friendly. He never taught people to seek attention. He taught them to give attention. He never taught people to be important. He taught them to make others feel important. But here's the irony: truly kind, genuinely happy people naturally become admired. Not because they're trying to impress anyone, but because they're focused on encouraging everyone. People want to be around those who make them feel good about themselves. They trust those who listen without judging. They admire those who encourage without expecting anything back. They respect those who serve without seeking credit. If you want to be popular, stop trying to be popular. Start trying to be helpful. If you want to be admired, stop trying to be impressive. Start trying to be interested. If you want to be important, stop trying to prove your importance. Start recognizing others' importance. The person who makes everyone else feel like a star becomes the star. The person who helps others shine becomes the one everyone wants to be around. Tomorrow, in every interaction, ask yourself, how can I make this person feel valued? How can I help them succeed? How can I encourage them? How can I serve them? Don't do it to become popular. Do it to become genuinely happy. The popularity will be a byproduct, not a goal. Carnegie taught that the people who chase fame end up empty. But the people who chase service end up fulfilled. And fulfilled people naturally attract others who want to feel fulfilled too. Stand in your mirror and say, I don't seek attention, I give attention. I don't demand respect, I show respect. Then prove it. Today, make 3 people feel important. Ask about their interests. Appreciate their efforts. Acknowledge their contributions. Watch how they respond to you. More importantly, watch how you feel about yourself. Real popularity isn't about being liked. It's about being useful. It's about being encouraging. It's about being the kind of person others want to become. Chapter 18, The 30-Day Happiness Ritual. Here's your daily practice. Every morning, before your feet touch the ground, before you check your phone, before you think about your problems, you're going to do this. Stand in front of your mirror. Look yourself in the eyes. Smile, even if you don't feel like it. Take 3 deep breaths. Then speak these words out loud. I don't wait for happiness. I build it today. I smile before I feel like it, and my mood follows. I see the good in others, and I say it out loud. I create happiness by giving happiness. Say them until you feel your posture change. Say them until your energy shifts. Say them until the person in the mirror looks ready to face the day with purpose. Then commit to 1 act of kindness before noon. Just 1. Something small. Something that will make someone else's day a little brighter. At night, return to the mirror. Ask yourself, did I build happiness today or did I wait for it? Did I encourage someone or criticize them? Did I focus on what's working or what's wrong? Don't judge yourself. Just observe. Then speak tomorrow's commitment. Tomorrow I build happiness again. This ritual isn't about perfection. It's about direction. It's about choosing, every single day, to be the kind of person who creates joy instead of waiting for it. Chapter 19, Stop Rehearsing Misery. Carnegie noticed something destructive that most people do without realizing it. They mentally replay their problems like movies. They rehearse their arguments. They practice their complaints. They memorize their disappointments. And then they wonder why they feel miserable. You've been training your brain for unhappiness. Every time you replay that conversation where someone hurt your feelings, you hurt your feelings again. Every time you imagine worst-case scenarios, you create stress in your body as if those scenarios were real. Every time you rehearse your problems, you make them bigger. But here's what Carnegie discovered. You can flip this. Instead of rehearsing misery, you can rehearse gratitude. Instead of practicing complaints, you can practice appreciation. Instead of memorizing disappointments, you can memorize victories. Tomorrow, when you catch your mind replaying something negative, interrupt it. Say out loud, stop. I don't rehearse misery. I rehearse gratitude. Then force your mind to replay something good. A compliment you received. A goal you achieved. A moment when someone showed you kindness. A time when you made someone else smile. Do this consistently for 30 days, and you'll rewire your brain for happiness instead of misery. Carnegie taught that your mind is like a garden. You can plant flowers or weeds. You can cultivate beauty or let bitterness grow wild. The choice is always yours. Stand in your mirror and say, I rehearse victories, not defeats. I practice gratitude, not complaints. Then prove it. Today, every time you catch yourself mentally replaying something negative, replace it with something positive. Train your mind to look for wins instead of losses, progress instead of problems, blessings instead of burdens. Your happiness depends on what you choose to think about. Choose carefully. Chapter 20, The Final Challenge. I've given you everything you need. The principles that transformed Carnegie's students into genuinely happy people. The daily practices that create lasting joy. The mindset shifts that turn ordinary people into magnetic personalities. But here's the truth, none of it matters unless you act on it. You can know every Carnegie principle by heart and still be miserable if you don't apply them. You can understand the psychology of happiness and still feel empty if you don't practice the habits. You can memorize the affirmations and still drift through life if you don't live by them. So here's my final challenge to you, 30 days. That's your task. 30 mornings of standing in front of that mirror and choosing happiness over hesitation. 30 days of smiling first, encouraging others, focusing on solutions instead of problems. 30 days of building happiness instead of waiting for it to arrive. I'm not asking you to believe it will work. I'm asking you to prove it won't. I'm not asking you to feel motivated. I'm asking you to act regardless of how you feel. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to be consistent. Day 1, stand in the mirror. Smile. Speak the affirmations. Do one kind thing for someone else. Day 2, do it again, even if you don't want to. Day 3, do it again, even if nothing seems to be changing. Keep going when it feels stupid. Keep going when you don't see results. Keep going when the voice in your head says it's not working. Because that voice, that's the old you talking. The version that waited for happiness. The version that hoped things would get better without getting better yourself. The version that talked about changing but never changed. That version dies in the mirror. Every morning. Through repetition. Through commitment. Through refusing to quit when it gets hard. By day 30, you will not recognize the person staring back at you. Not because you'll look different, but because you'll be different. You'll carry yourself differently. You'll speak differently. You'll relate to others differently. You'll think differently. People will notice. They'll ask what happened to you. They'll want to know your secret. And you'll look at them and say, I stopped waiting for happiness like it was coming in the mail. I built it. One day at a time. One choice at a time. One mirror session at a time. This is not the end. This is the beginning. The beginning of a life where you don't hope for good days, you create them. Where you don't wish for better relationships, you become the kind of person others want to be around. Where you don't dream of being happy, you wake up and build happiness before breakfast. The mirror is waiting. Your future self is waiting. The person you're going to become is waiting. Happiness isn't coming to find you. You have to build it yourself. Start tomorrow morning. Stand in that mirror. Smile even if it feels fake. Speak those affirmations even if you don't believe them yet. Commit to one act of kindness before noon. Then do it again the next day. And the next. And the next. 30 days from now, you'll thank yourself for starting. 30 years from now, you'll thank yourself for not stopping. The choice is yours. Happiness is waiting not for you to find it, but for you to build it. Now go build it.